Right, we'll get started here in a minute. Just going to get everybody tagged. Right. I think I've got everyone tagged. All right. Okay. Testing the chat. All right. Perfect. There it goes. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I thought I would kind of start doing some of these video series and try to help educate and share some knowledge. So at the end of the day, I'm an investor. I'm a collector. I love the sports card industry. It's just on fire. And way too often am I seeing in these social media groups and on eBay, people messing up and buying cards they shouldn't. A lot of shady people out there. There's some really easy things within 2018, 2019, 2020 Prizm that are really easy to determine the grade of a card. And a lot of people are sending cards in and getting 8s and getting 9s and not knowing why. Let's just say I've sent in a lot of cards and kind of understanding what brings a 9 and a 10. So I thought I would share that education here with the group. So I created a small document to help with that. So give me 1 second. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. So what I did was I took several samples of cards to kind of call out some real simple stuff, and then I'll get into a little more complex stuff as I scroll through this document. All right. So let me get into the document so I can scroll. All right. Perfect. Okay, so let's first look at this Seku here on the left. So what I wanted to show was the back. So the back of the card from a centering perspective, it doesn't, from a centering perspective, the back isn't looked at as severe in PSA's eyes. So you can have a semi-off center back. So the one on the left, I have circled here. You can see that the top right edge is slightly off center, and there's more on the top left edge. So that's a real simple, easy way to identify the centering on the back. A lot of people would look at that top left card and say that it is centered. Let's now look at the middle card here. When you talk about edges, so here at the very top of the card, almost all day, that will guarantee a 9. If you have an edge that doesn't get, cleaned up a little bit, there's some ways to do it. That's not altering the card, because what we don't want to do is to alter cards. But you can see where the dull cutters frayed the edge on the side. So that's something that you want to look at, because almost always that middle card is going to grade a 9. let's now scroll over here. What I wanted to show is you can see the LeBron top right edge is just a hair off center. But what I wanted to call out here is in comparing to the Sekou edge, that is what your edge wants to or needs to look like there on that LeBron. Okay. All right, let's scroll down. All right. Okay. Now, what I have done here, look, let me zoom out here just a hair. All right. What I've done here is I have put these cards through under certain light. So when I look at cards to submit for grading, I look at them under varying lighting conditions. So here I happen to have taken a picture under various lighting conditions, and you'll see that as I show various cards here. All right. Okay, if you take anything away from this series, the number one thing that you want to take away is what I have circled right here. When you talk about centering, PSA will never ever give you a 10 grade. Never. If the frame is not in center. So what I have circled here is you can see how they actually double stamp the card. So they stamp the exterior frame, then they stamp in the interior frame. And here you can see just by looking at that edge, it is bleeding over and it's not sharp. Don't worry, I'll show you what a PSA 10 sharp frame looks like. So this is the number one thing that you want to look for. The reason you see a lot of PSA 10 Zions out there, and everyone's like, oh, there's PSA again, giving a PSA 10 on something that's not centered. That person, when they make that comment, is talking about these dots here. So here you see 3 dots, and then you scroll over here, and then you see 3.5, almost 4. What PSA is looking for is this inner frame. Okay? All right. All right, so scrolling down. Okay, this is now me putting the card under a little bit different light. Now, what I want to show out here is, look, you can see a tiny fingerprint here. If you actually look at this card in normal light, you to the naked eye cannot see that. When PSA puts the card under various lighting conditions, they can see that. So just because you can't see the fingerprint under your naked eye, PSA can. Okay? All right, scrolling down, here's another example here, okay? Again, this is the most important part. Do not ever buy a card raw that looks like this, okay? Now, it's hard to see in this lighting condition, but over here on the left-hand side, you lose the frame border because the second stamp has now gone over to the left over the first stamp, okay? All right, so that's 2 really, really good examples. Your number one eye, your eye, number one, needs to go and look at the frame centering, not the dots on the side, okay? All right, scrolling down. Okay, here's another example of me using different lighting conditions. You can see the smudges and fingerprints. Again, to the naked eye, you cannot see that on the card, okay? All right, scrolling down. All right, now, also from a surface perspective, there's pretty easy imperfections to look for. I'm not talking about print lines. I'm not sitting here talking about scratches. But here's a little nick in the card, okay? That will always maximum PSA 9. Depending on how many there are, if you have print lines or a small micro line with a little nick, or indentation, it'll almost always PSA 8. And that is just not even taking into consideration what we just talked about primary on the frame. Okay? All right. Scrolling down. All right. Here's a different way to look at the frame. Now, just so you're aware, the reason I have circled this on the left-hand side, you can see that there's no fingerprints there. This is the same card. Okay? So I wanted to point out that you can't see it here. All right. So also on the frame, we talked about the left to right. Okay? Here is now the top. This is a clear example of how the double stamping works. They stamped it first and then stamped it again with the picture. But here you can see they clearly missed the stamp. Okay? That will probably PSA 8. All right? Okay. So when you see a bunch of people on eBay and in these Facebook groups selling 10 LeBrons for $400, well, yeah, they're selling you them because the frame's off. There's a nick in it, a scratch that you can't see. Okay, so if you're okay with buying 10 or 20 PSA 9 LeBrons, which is actually a good investment, feel free. Just don't get disappointed when they're not 10s. All right. Can everybody hear me? Can I get at least one person to comment to say that it sounds fine? All right. So here is another example of LeBron where the stamp is way off. Now, what you also want to look at is here his face. Okay. So awesome. Thanks for commenting that. So here you can see where the head stamp and the head picture didn't imprint in line. This again will probably the PSA 7A. Okay. All right. Moving on. Any questions? Feel free to ask a question. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you. Okay. Again, under different lighting conditions, you can see the fingerprints and smudges on the right-hand side of the card. Okay. A lot of people talk about the shield. Oh, the shield is off. Well, PSA is actually not dinging too hard on the shield. Okay. Now, the reason this one would not PSA 10, though, is what I wanted to call out is the off-centering top to bottom. A lot of people are so focused on the dots left and right because that is something very tangible. It's something to understand and see. But this one is way off-center, top and bottom, okay? My best advice for you is to go study cards. Go out to eBay, Google Marant PSA 10s, and study them. You need to get comfortable being able to look at cards and know exactly which ones are off-center, top and bottom, okay? All right. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the right-hand side of the card on the frame. Here's a good example on the left-hand side of the frame. Again, that is the most important thing. So yes, go look at all of your 2019, 2020 Prizms and start understanding which ones have good frames and which ones don't. If your card looks like this, don't send it to me to send to PSA, okay? Don't, and yourself, don't send it to PSA. I just happen to want to call out the scratch/nick that is there on the right-hand side of the card as well. All right. Continuing to scroll. Okay, here is a Marant silver. It's in my personal collection. I haven't sent it in for grading. You might ask why. Here, if you look at the frame's perfect here. Okay, that is what your card needs to look like from a frame perspective. All right. But the reason I haven't is I know it will 100% PSA 9 because of the top and bottom centering. I might still send it in to have a Marant Silver PSA 9. But frame is perfect. Left to right is actually not too bad, but the top is off. So, all right, moving on. I think I just have a few more to show you. All right, so here is another Marant that is pretty dang good on the frame. So here you can see there's a clear lip on the left-hand side, and there's a clear lip on the right-hand side. Top and bottom centering is great. The shield is slightly off, so you might have a subjective grader if he or she is pissed off that day. All right. Okay, again, I just wanted to show you the smudges that don't show up in normal light. And here is perfect centering left and right from a dots perspective, but that card is not graded mainly because of that nick and scratch there. All right, let's talk a little bit about eBay. All right. Okay, so be really, really careful. There's some shady people out there, and it really, really drives me bonkers. Anybody to mislead a novice, somebody that's just now getting into the industry or just wants to collect and try to get an investment, this card will probably PSA 8, 8.5. You could get lucky with a 9. But that is way off center, top and bottom. It's also off center, left and right. The frame's not too bad, but for somebody to mislead and say PSA 10 question mark, block them. Okay, just block them. All right. I think I have just a few more things to show you. Let me see. All right. Okay, so here is a PSA 10. Marant. You see here, perfect centering, top and bottom. Check out the head frame. Okay, everything is stamped in place. The shield is perfect. Scrolling down, okay, you can see the edge and the lip on the left. This black is not bleeding over. You can see the edge lip on the right. The black is not bleeding over onto the edge. And the dots are perfect. So go out there and study PSA 10 cards. You don't have to study every player, okay? But just a quick recap. Just because I want it to hit home with everybody, because a lot of people don't understand. This is the number one thing you need to look for is the frame stamp. Okay. There's also a way. I wasn't planning on showing you this because I'm actually going to do it in another series. The best way to look at PSA. The best way to look at cards is find the right sunlight through a window. Hold the card up eye level like this, and then tilt it, okay? What will happen is the sunlight through the window will put a straight edge beam on the card, okay? And then as you rotate the card down, that beam of light will shine on the card and go up and down the card. That's the best way to look for any imperfections in the surface, okay? All right, so I'm going to do another series on how to look at cards and how to submit to PSA. That'll probably be the second video that I do. But before we go, though, I want to show you one more thing. Let me turn this off and turn that on. Okay. All right. Okay, so here's another shady person on eBay. So PSA 10 question mark. They have 100% positive feedback with 878, but I would message this person. Okay, look. All right. Hold on. Let me make sure it's showing. Yeah. It is. Okay. Do you see the frame on the right-hand side? That's a prime example. That card will never PSA 10. Okay? Never. Now, if you look at this bottom left edge, do you see how the black print there, dang it, the black print there, you can actually see the card edge where the black paint has bled over the frame. Okay, and then you can also see the bottom left corner how it comes out of the frame. That's the first thing that everybody needs to look for is right there. Okay, and everybody go block this person. Let's check the back. Whoops. There we go. The back's actually not too bad. So, okay. All right. It's just unfortunate. Somebody paid $285 for that card. They probably don't know like the rest of the people watching this. Very true. That's true. But anybody to me to say PSA 10 question mark, there's a reason why they are putting that there, and I guarantee you, if we go look at the rest of their auctions, they know what they are doing there. So, all right, that is all that I had to show y'all around the 2019-2020 cards and what to look for on the centering, top and bottom, left and right. Use different light sources. Make sure you're cleaning your cards. Get those smudges and fingerprints off. Look at the edge, and make sure that your edges are sharp. So it's clickbaiting titles. Yeah, well, here in the South, we do things a little bit different with some trust and respect. Anyways, all right. Thanks, group. Appreciate it. Feel free to private message me any questions that you might have about grading or cards. I'll try to answer it. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. And the next video series we will do about PSA and grading and how to and stuff like that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are interested in that. All right. Take care.